another video in this state series, and slowly but surely this is becoming my favorite series in the channel, as it is a time for me to just reflect on what is going on, a time for me to reflect on the state of the teams and things in world football. Welcome back to the JVM Football channel, where you can find game analysis, football history, individual performances, top 10s, etc. Right now we are taking a deep dive into the Portuguese league, the Primeira Liga. Last week we looked at Benfica. This week we're looking at Sporting, and next week we're going to be looking at Porto, and hopefully the next few weeks I'll be going to Serie A. Let's start this video then in typical stage fashion series by going through my predictions. And this is like the third week straight where I didn't make any predictions at the beginning of the season in my channel. But going back into my mind state in like August, September, and what I thought of Sporting coming to this season, I thought that Sporting were not going to have a good season. They have a good squad, especially with the guys with the likes of Pedro Gonçalves and the rest of the squad that they have. They have a good squad, but I didn't think that they were going to win the league again. Not because again that the squad isn't good enough, but just because I thought that the Porto squad and the Benfica squad were much better. I even thought that the Benfica squad last season was much better, but it's just one of those seasons where things go wrong. You don't really get things straight, and the thing or two, football isn't straight maths. A few variables happen, and the tide can change. So my predictions for Sporting at the beginning of the season were that they were not going to have a good season. In the group of the Champions League, I thought that they were really going to struggle, that they would not make it. I mean, they're going up against Dortmund and Ajax, you take any of those teams again ahead of Sporting, but that's not what happened. And even in the league, they are performing much better than Benfica, and although they're not first place, they are just 6 points behind Porto, and if they can keep this up, then anything could happen towards the end of the season. As long as Porto lose one game, the pressure is back on. So, what has gone well for Sporting so far this season? Well, first of all, let's look about the Champions League and how they are doing very well in the Champions League. Coming to this season, as I just stated in my little predictions, Sporting were definitely not one of the favourites to make it out of this group. You look at this group, you have Ajax, Dortmund and Besiktas. Besiktas were never going to get through or anything. They finished with 0 points, which is even worse than what I expected and what I believe most people expected. So Besiktas they were not that team. No one really expected anything out of them, and that's what happened. But Dortmund, and that's where Sporting capitalized on Dortmund's mistakes. Dortmund messed up, and Sporting took the advantage and made it into the next phase of the competition. Ajax dominated this group, they won every single game, but Sporting came second, and now this is probably the first time, I don't even know, this is the first time in a very long time. I would even dare say 7 to 8 seasons since Sporting made it out of a Champions League group. So props to them. The last time they were in the Champions League, it was 17-18, and they finished third. The season before that, they finished bottom. And the finish before that was 2014-2015, they finished third. Yeah, and to see the last time Sporting made it to the next phase of the competition, the Champions League, you have to go back to 2008-2009. So in terms of the Champions League, Sporting are 150% exceeding expectations, which is something you always love to see. And now let's look into the league, and again, they're not first place, it's not ideal. But in 22 games played so far this season, they are only 6 points behind Porto, unlike Benfica that are 47. Benfica which only have 47 points. If they stick this up, if they can continue to apply pressure, if they do not lose any, I wouldn't say any more games, but if they minimize their points lost, and especially seeing how they just drew to Porto, it's going to be very interesting towards the end of the season. So this is something that Sporting has been doing well, and hopefully at the end of the season I can say that one of the things that they have done well is winning the league, hopefully. So let's now look at what has gone wrong for Sporting so far this season. And there isn't anything like particular that I would say has gone wrong for Sporting this season. Sure, you could point out to the fact that in the Champions League they could have done a little bit better, but as I have just said, the last time they made it into the next phase of the competition was in 2009. 2009. I was gonna say they hadn't made it in 10 years. That's even worse. So, and they've made it into the next phase of the competition. In the league, they are sticking it out, and in the cups, they finished first place in their group, going into the next competition. So, really, what has gone wrong for Sporting? I'll just say they dropped a few points in the league they shouldn't have dropped. If they hadn't dropped those points, then they would have been in first place. So that's really it when it comes to what Sporting has done wrong. And now, which player has been like the outstanding player so far this season? And they haven't really had like an outstanding player they've had this season, like they did last season with Pedro Gonçalves. But this season is really just about being a good team, putting up good team effort. You could go to Coates at the back, being that presence, that leadership, and that consistency in the back. But I don't. And I look at this Benfica squad, at the Sporting squad. My bad. I don't really see an outstanding player this season so far. But I do want to talk about Pedro Gonçalves because I think that this is a player on the come up, a player that I have to make a video on. He's 23 years old, and last season in the league he scored 23 goals and assisted 3 times. When Bruno left Sporting, there was a lot of talk of how they were really going to miss him, how they were going to struggle without him. And then along comes Pedro Gonçalves, and this guy's putting up crazy numbers. This season so far, he hasn't been producing the same things, but at the same time, he has had 2 injuries, one in September and one now in February. So you also have to look at that. So his numbers aren't the same as last season, but it was going to be hard for him anyways. I just hope that Sporting can keep this up. Maybe they beat Manchester City in the Champions League. I don't think that'll be happening. But yeah, let's just see how far this team can go. Anyways, thank you very much for watching the video until the end. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more game analysis, football history, individual performances, top 10s, etc. If you are interested and would like more football content like this, please subscribe to the channel.